This conversation was way too powerful not to share. So we recorded it live on IG, so forgive the quality, but lean in for the message. Everybody, welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with Coach Tish, your favorite capacity coach for high achieving Black women who are tired of doing the most and are ready to create more energy, more ease, more joy in your lives without burning out in the process. So tonight's live is one that I'm super excited about. Honestly, I did not know that I needed it until I did. And so now I'm super excited that we're about to get into some good stuff. So here's the thing. If you've ever felt like you've tried yoga, you've done the journaling, you've been to therapy, but your body still is holding the stress, still overextended, still aching, still wired, even when you're exhausted, then tonight is for you. So my guest tonight is Dr. Danielle Griffin, a TEDx speaker, educator, coach, all-around body whisperer who helps folks reduce stress, manage pain, heal trauma, and feel at home in their bodies again. Y'all, she is the shit, okay? I don't say this about a lot of people. But she's a certified yoga teacher, hypnotherapist, neuro-linguistic practitioner, and she brings both the science and the soul to everything she teaches. And so her approach to somatics is super simple, super accessible, and I'm super excited to introduce her to you. So give me 1 second. Get into some good stuff. Nervous system healing, burnout recovery, what it takes to feel good, not just for the gram, but for your life. There she is. Hi, Dr. Danielle.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing amazing. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, how's my sound?
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I wish we had like a studio audience so I could put on the clapping hands. Well, welcome. So I think I hope I did your bio some justice. You know, you did all the things. Did I mention TEDx? Author of Somatics Made Simple. You actually have 2 somatics books.
Right. And actually a third one pending, so.
I love it. So let's get into it. So can I call you Dr. Dandy? How do you like to be referred to?
Most people say Dr. Danielle or just Danielle is fine.
We're gonna put some respect on that doctor, okay? Because I done dropped out of 3 PhD programs, so I can only imagine. I know the work that goes into it. So yeah, we're gonna call you Dr. Danielle, okay? You earned that.
Trauma healing experience in itself.
I believe it. I was an academic advisor for 8 years at the undergrad and graduate levels. So I am clear. I am clear. So let's get into this. I'm super excited to talk to you. I was excited to talk to you because I knew about your book. I am familiar with somatics a bit, and I thought, ooh, you would be the perfect person to talk to. And then I started experiencing some symptoms of burnout, and now I'm on the FMLA and short-term disability for burnout symptoms myself, which is so funny to me, or timely, if you will. So I'm super excited that you're here. So let's just, let's dive in with kind of how did you get started doing this work?
Yeah, so it's one of those things that the work found me, right? And so I originally started with yoga, right? I was just practicing yoga. Going through COVID, I had our second child. We lost, my husband and I both lost our dads in 2021. Thank you. We were just going through a lot of changes. My body was changing, our family was changing, a lot of stress. We also had bought a house during that period. So we just had a lot going on, and my body felt like a train wreck. I was struggling to recover after the pregnancy. I had a C-section, emergency C-section. and my body just didn't feel the same. And so I had practiced yoga prior, but everything I tried to get back, get my body back to where I wanted it to be, everything just wasn't, nothing was doing me justice. And so something in me was like, I feel like the only thing that's really going to feel good is yoga, just between the stretching and some of the body weight activities and like the slower paced, you know, relaxation that I needed to kind of take it easy and progress at a rate that felt good for me versus trying to force it to happen.
Yeah.
And so I found a studio that was near home, and I started practicing again there versus just doing it at home. Like it felt like, all right, we've been cooped up so long. I also wasn't getting like the privacy and the the respect that I needed at home in terms of like I need this practice to be peaceful for me, and I
Yeah.
have people walking in the middle of me trying to do this or interrupting, asking me to do things. So like
Yeah.
I have to get out and actually go to a studio.
Yeah. Because you at your studio, but they at home.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I found this new studio, and I started going there for a few months, and it was a brand new studio as well. And they had a like master trainer there teaching some of the or certifying some of the instructors that were there. I just happened to ask like, how do you become a yoga instructor? Like, what does this entail? I was just kind of curious. I knew a couple of people who taught, and just wanted to learn more. And it just happened to be like, oh well, by the way, we're about to start certification classes. So I just kind of fell into learning, deepening my practice through that. I wasn't necessarily trying to teach yoga at that time, but it was really for my own healing purposes.
Okay.
But through that, I learned more about other forms of holistic healing, including the somatics, including the hypnotherapy, um, which both I, later became certified in. Because when I saw how powerful those methods were for my own healing and how
Mm-hmm.
much it expedited my healing, overcoming some of my mindset blocks and physical barriers. Once I learned about it and once I learned that I could teach others about it, I was like,
Yeah.
I have to get certified. I have to do this. I know people in my immediate circle who need this and could benefit from it. And
Okay.
so that's what I did. And in that process, especially through the hypnotherapy and, learning about manifestation and things, I realized like I'm meant to write a book. I'm meant to speak on stages. Like I didn't know exactly how it would transpire, but I knew like there was a greater purpose there and I needed to share my story. I needed to be able to get out there and help more people. Um, Once people started learning what I do and learning what somatics is, almost everybody's speech is like, yes, I need that.
So, let's talk about first. So I have a couple of questions. First question is, um, did you already have your doctorate by the time you were doing this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
Finished my
this was,
doctorate in 2019, just before COVID happened.
oh wow.
And so
Literally ended one traumatic experience and started another one. Okay.
it was pretty much like every year, like back to back, like the doctorate, then COVID, then dad passing. And yeah, so yeah, a lot
Wow.
going
Okay.
on in these 2 years.
Yeah. So you needed it at that point. It was like the body, the stresses are piling up.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
love that because I think I got introduced to like vagus nerve work in 2019, like literally just in time
Yeah,
for the pandemic. So let me ask you something. So how do you, because of course you're the author of Somatics Made Simple, how would you define somatics for those in who are watching who may not know what that means?
Yeah. I ultimately define somatics as body awareness and using a three-part technique, breath work, meditation, and movement to help heal the body, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. And so uniting all those things, becoming aware of how you react or how certain things in your environment impact your physical and mental well-being.
Okay.
Because everything that we do gets stored in us internally.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a disagreement with somebody and you start feeling it in your shoulders, or have migraines, or I'll clench my jaw, or sometimes I'll feel muscle tension in my forearms depending on what's going on, and constantly carrying that stress with us, holding that tension. Our shoulders start to drop over time. We start to develop chronic illnesses,
Mm-hmm.
stress, anxiety, chronic pain, back pain. Those are some of the common things. And we want to attribute it to injuries or, other things going on,
Yeah.
which it could have been, or it could have been exasperated, but a lot of it is internal. A lot of
Okay.
things we can to release and let go, decompress, so that we can give our bodies opportunity to heal. It's also hormonal, right? Like using the breath work, using the meditation to allow our minds to rest, to start to allow the body to relax so that we can get restful sleep, restoring our cortisol levels, bringing us out of that fight or flight state that we're often in. So,
Mm-hmm.
and live healthier lives, balancing our blood pressure, reducing risks of heart disease. All of that comes with it when this becomes a regular practice in our lives.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're talking about like the intersection or the marriage between movement, stillness, and
Mm-hmm.
breath.
Exactly.
Okay. Right? Which is interesting because so much of when we hear people talk about health, they usually only focus on one or the other.
Right.
You need to rest, but they don't really tell us what that means. And so automatically our minds think, don't move, lay down, or you
Right.
need to move. And we don't really think about how that engages or interacts with the breath. So we, increase cortisol levels by doing boot camps and all this other stuff.
Right. Right. Exactly. And a lot
Okay.
of people don't know how to rest, right? The program to keep going all the time. The mind is always going, and losing sleep at night, especially as busy entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
it's it's an always on mode. And
Yeah.
when you aren't allowing your body adequate rest, right, you're still going to burn out. Like you might think, oh, I'm sleeping, I'm getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep, I'm good, but it's not enough to really reset the body.
Yeah. You in my lane, you in my neighborhood now, Dr. Danielle.
That's
So how
where I was when I literally burnt out as well, and that's where part of where I was like, I have to do something. That's where I really dove into the somatics and the hypnotherapy, because I was already doing the yoga. I was actively teaching yoga at that time, but I had, you know, 4 to 5 days a week where I was teaching classes, working full time, have a full time family. I was spent. And I was like, how can I
yeah,
be a yoga instructor and still burnt out? How am I only getting 3 hours of sleep and barely making it, showing up late to my classes, bragging.
yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like for me, I just recently realized that I was burned out. But the interesting thing was I didn't feel burned out. I just felt like, girl, you better take this time off. And honestly, I was afraid of being fired. I was like, let me take this leave.
Right.
And I was in my mind, it was just like, I'm a gang the system. Let me go ahead and get over a little bit. And I didn't feel burned out, but I'll be doggone if not 10 days after I submit, I'm like, like I'm starting to feel something. I'm starting to feel something like, it took me 12 days for my mind to catch up with my body. So,
Yes.
and thank goodness I
That's
submitted the
really
paperwork before it was in my conscious awareness that now you getting to the end. So
right.
how did you, like, what did burnout feeling like in your body before you had the language, before you knew it was burnout? Like, what did you notice?
There were a couple things. One of the biggest things of once the TEDxer is released, you can hear the story. But my husband and I woke up one morning and he's like, "You're looking old." I had bags under my eyes. I was dragging. I hadn't even hit 40 yet. And I'm like, "What do you mean? How I can't look old. Black don't crack."
Right.
Like,
Ain't
but
that
then
it?
I had to really do an evaluation. I'm like, I am, but because I'm losing so much sleep, I'm burning the candle at both ends, plus everything going on in our lives. Like, but I feel like I can't stop. Like, if I stop, the world's going to fall apart. Our world is going to fall apart. Like, who's going to do all this stuff if I'm not doing it? You
Yeah.
know? But I had to figure something out. I was getting like 3 hours of sleep each night consistently. I can't continue to function this way. I can't think properly and process information. Problem solving abilities were low. There were days where I just felt like crying because I was just so tired. Like, this can't be life, right? I didn't work this hard to get my doctorate degree and get to where I am in life to feel this way.
Yeah.
And that's when I had to find something else.
Yeah. What kind of, so for you, like, did you have to do any of the mental gymnastics? Like I noticed that I had to like I said, I had to tell myself I was getting over in order to like take time off. Like, did you have any of that where you like had to trick yourself into like
Well, yes and no. So the trick yourself part is for me where the hypnotherapy came in, because in a way that was the trick yourself that I didn't really realize I was falling into. It was something, I went down this rabbit hole. I was talking to another coach and she had made a comment, like, you have to start to let things go, like give it to other people or stop being involved in certain things in life. But I made these commitments, like I have to. And she was like,
yeah.
and talking about my business as well, my other business, like the money will come.
Mhm.
And I'm like, but what if it doesn't? And this is
Yeah.
just before I found the hypnotherapy. And that statement resonated with me. Like, the money, what is that? And like, that's a manifestation statement. And at the time I wasn't as into it. I knew about it, was familiar with it, but like, is it a real thing? And I
Yeah.
started going down this rabbit hole and I recalled some videos that I had seen. I don't know if you're familiar with a company called Mind Valley, but
Absolutely. I visited their headquarters when in 2019 when I was in Kuala Lumpur. I actually found out that I knew someone who worked there. She let me come see her at work.
Yeah. Well, I don't even remember how long ago it was, but I had came across like one of their videos. And again, at that time when I initially saw it, I didn't think too much of it. Like, I looked into it more like, this is all stuff like I could read up on, or, I don't necessarily need to do their programs or whatever, you know. But when she said that statement, immediately put me back to what they were saying. And so I, you know, just kind of went down the wellness rabbit hole of, you know, learning more about the manifestation. And that's when I learned more about hypnotherapy and how that would benefit me in terms of mindset. Because even
Yes.
if I tried to practice manifestation, if I still wasn't in the right mindset where I believed it, right? And that's where the money will come. I knew, like, yeah, I'm putting the work, it will come, but what if it doesn't, right? And so
Yes.
doing that mindset work, that really flipped the switch for me. So that was the trick I played on myself that I didn't necessarily realize I was, but it was something that I agreed with and, you know, and with bought into, if you will, in terms of like, yeah, this is how I want to live my life. I need things to change in terms of how I operate, being able to let go so that I can physically get better. You know, I was also suffering from high blood pressure from after my pregnancy, and it just never came down.
Mm.
It's never going to if I'm not getting rest, if I'm overworking myself. You know, even though I'm physically active, I'm still doing all these things. I'm not allowing my body to have the right environment to thrive in. And so once I flipped that switch, then things drastically started improving in my life. You know, I was able
Yeah.
to say, simultaneously saying yes to more, but also saying no to more, but saying yes to the right things, the things that were actually going to benefit me and make me more productive versus more busy.
Okay. So the hypnotherapy allowed you to kind of tap into your subconscious so that
Right.
you could shift some of your beliefs so that you would be open to some of the breath work and the stillness. Um, Almost like it was allowing your body to accept it or receive it.
Yeah, it definitely in ways, um, accepting it, receiving it, giving myself the opportunity to say, like, yeah, Daniel, you can not be involved in this organization. You need to not be involved or as involved, or just take a back seat. Let other people take the lead. You don't have to be the leader in everything you do.
Mm.
That you can. It doesn't mean you're no longer a part of it, but
Yeah.
you need to give yourself space, and it's also allowing other people opportunities to grow.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about some really deeply held beliefs that are very common
Yeah,
amongst Black people, Black women, Black men, people of color, right? This idea that we need to do the most at all times
yeah.
um, in
It's
order to feel safe.
yeah, definitely.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's
Right?
definitely
Like these are really deeply held beliefs.
yeah.
How long did it look? Because this is what clients are. Well, how long this gonna take for me to like let go or something like that? You know, how many hypnotherapy sessions did you have to do?
Um, so I was listening to some of the recordings and things consistently, oh, probably for about a month. But you know, they focused on slightly different things. Um, but even over that time, things were changing. And at first, wasn't sure, like, was it because of this that I made the change? But over time, I was able to say yes, definitely. It was because of that. It was that mindset shift. You know, I was more open to receiving it, or more open to other opportunities, or more open to other types of growth, not blocking. You know, often say blocking our blessings in a sense because of fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allowed me to overcome. I knew at that point what was meant for me, and that was with hypnotherapy. Oftentimes, like, well, I don't know what I want in life. I don't know where I'm going. Because we will sit in that uncertainty and fear about where we're meant to be. And I didn't necessarily know exactly. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up with. They want the exact plan. Like, this is going to happen. I'm going to write this exact book. I didn't even know that, right? Like, I didn't even know it was going to be about somatics at that time. Like, I just knew I was meant to write something. And just through the work, it allowed me to be more open to certain conversations with people, expanding my mindset. Because even then, when I decided to write the book on somatics, I was still doing the work. And it was somebody else that mentioned like the somatics, but my mindset was like, well, maybe like, what about yoga? Like that's my lane. Like I know yoga, and they're like, but there's this really great, opportunity that you're learning, and I was at that time in ways scared of it because I didn't feel like I was the expert yet, right?
Yeah.
I was still a student of it, still healing from it. But it was through that where I learned that's the exact type of person that needs to be the voice for it because you're speaking from your own personal experience. And it's
Absolutely.
that mindset that the work, the hypnotherapy allowed me to make.
Yeah. Now, can you tell us a little bit about hypnotherapy? Because when we hear hypnosis, we think of Vegas. Well, I think of Vegas,
That's an old one,
right?
right?
And like I'm gonna hypnotize you to bark like a dog.
Right. Yep. That's where most people go. The most common comment I get, like, "Are you gonna make me cluck like a chicken?" Like, no. The people relate it to, the stage performers. That's where our most common experience is with it, right? But basically in hypnotherapy, you're not going to do anything that you're not open to do, you're not willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about what you want to happen, what your goals are. Especially in my sessions, identifying, setting a purpose and an intent. Oftentimes people say a lot of people will use it for weight loss or addictions like smoking, and people think, oh, I want to quit smoking. But we try to flip it, and it's part of the mindset work, right? Well, what is it that you want to happen? Yeah, you want to
Yes.
stop smoking, but what do you want to replace it with? What do you want to be doing instead? What do you want
Yes.
life to look like when you're not smoking? And why do you want
Yes.
really anchoring that why, right? Like if you're doing it for somebody else, it's never going to work. And that's
Absolutely.
when people have to remember, like, I can't just hypnotize you, like hanging the watch and make anything happen, right? Again, you have to want it to happen, and it has to be for yourself. You can't just
Yeah.
say, I want to quit smoking because my husband wants me to. Like, but do you? Do you
Yeah.
understand why? Like, are you afraid of the impacts on your health, or is it jeopardizing your relationships? If a person doesn't have that connection or doesn't care
Mm-hmm.
about certain things, and it's not to the point where it's like fear or things of that nature, then they're wasting their time.
No, I love that because in health coaching, we talk about the stages of change. And that first stage of change, there has to be some type of emotional appeal in order for the person to take it on. Right.
Right.
And typically, so in health coaching, people are always talking about it's always something related to either weight or diet or smoking. Right. And people wanting to make these healthy changes. But the we call it the first stage of change, pre-contemplation, right? When the person isn't ready for change, and the only reason they sit in front of me because somebody told them they need to be, but they haven't had their own emotional connection with
Right.
the end result. It's just, what was it, Marshawn Lynch? I'm just here so I don't get fined, right? It's so I love that the same rules apply, because at the end of the day, we're talking about how do you change your behavior, and so yeah, it has to be deeper than, I got sold this on social media. Somebody said it was a really good idea,
Right.
right?
Right.
You have to have a connection to the thing that you want in order to, basically, in order for your mind to be ready
Right.
for the suggestion, if you will.
Right.
I love
Exactly.
that. I love that. Okay. So I want to make sure that I respect your time. I mean, this is so good. I love that, you talked about somatics, you talked about hypnotherapy. By the way, is there a difference between hypnosis and hypnotherapy?
No, it's the same thing. So
Okay.
it's just the practice. Yeah.
Okay. And so then I think my next question is, so for those of us, I think a lot of us get tagged and labeled high achieving.
Hmm.
Right? So when it comes to this kind of work, somatics and hypnotherapy, what do you think is a common misconception that keeps high achievers from taking this on?
Afraid that it's going to take too much time.
Mm.
They're already busy people, and they don't have a way at that point to squeeze it into their busy lives.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm already doing all these things. I'm already being pulled in all these directions. I already don't have time to exercise, go to the gym, let alone do this somatic exercise and meditation. Also, just recognize that the time they're already spending doing a lot of these things, it could be incorporated. It doesn't have to be additional time.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be a part of what you're already doing.
Yeah, I was talking to someone. She's like, "Yeah, I spend like 2 hours a day doing physical activity, exercising. Like I don't know exactly what you're doing during those 2 hours, but you probably actually like cut back or incorporate it into it. If you're doing some sort of stretching activity during that part, that could be the somatic exercise, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be something in addition. Or when you first wake up in the morning, if you're spending time, like if it takes you 30 minutes to get out the bed in the morning, then that's that time. Or your wind down time before you go to bed, or the time that you spend scrolling on social media, those little moments could be incorporated. And the work that I do with my clients, we not only find those moments, we find what the optimal time is for these individuals, as well as what activities are really going to benefit them the most, and how to incorporate them in their lives, and what triggers them, so that they can say, okay, I know this is coming up, or this situation happened. This is when I need to do it
Okay.
because of this environment.
No, I love that. I love that. Okay. So for someone who may not be familiar with somatics, right? What would you say is the simplest way for them to be, like, what's the simplest first step for someone who may not be familiar?
Yeah. Someone that's not familiar, there's several YouTube videos and things online. I have a Facebook group that's I often refer people to. I have a lot of free resources there to introduce people to what it is. I'll do within the group lives similar to this occasionally. But I would just suggest, either reading some books or finding some videos to at least see what it's about, getting more information, and then figuring out what it is you exactly need.
Okay.
What I definitely empathize with in the book is doing what, having that awareness, taking time to be aware of what your body needs and doing the exercise that feels good for you, that's actually going to heal your body, not just going through the motions.
Oh, I
And
love that.
that's where I feel like this practice differs from just going to a class. Like, I love yoga, but when you go to a class, you're doing what the instructor says to do, right? You already have a plan a lot of times. It's, we're working on these specific areas, but that may not be what you need. You might hit on some areas, but, it's not necessarily focusing on your specific needs. And that's why I like the somatics, really listen to your own.
I love that. So it's personal.
Right.
Right? It's personal. It's about what you've got going on and how you're showing up and what you need today. I
Right.
especially like what you said about, allowing your body to heal as opposed to just moving it.
Right.
Right?
And,
Because we're so used to forcing our body and contorting our body and doing whatever with our bodies. But the healing means you're listening to it.
yeah.
Right? Like there's a different kind of relationship there. So I love that.
There's been numerous times where, someone that I've worked with, they'll be like, oh, this area hurts. I have this discomfort. Maybe it's the hip. And they'll be trying to do all these exercises or activities or muscle strengthening that they think is targeting it. But like, if you really listen to your body and what movement you're making that is really triggering it, like how you're feeling it, is it pinching, is it cramping, or what is the actual feeling, and really kind of leaning into that to find what types of movements actually make it feel better.
Okay.
I, especially thinking about my mom, she's had a lot of, surgeries and things in the recent past, and she'll go to like a physical therapist. She's like, well, the pain sometimes in my hip and sometimes down my leg, and they think it's sciatic, and they're having me do this exercise. I'm like, is that really even targeting what you need? Like, you really need to take some time to go within to understand what you're feeling. How is it? When is it actually hurting the most? Where is it hurting?
Mm-hmm.
And what movements make it feel better? When do you feel any pain? When don't you notice any discomfort? Is it 100% of the time? Not usually. Usually there's something that you're doing or things that might be making you mentally feel good, right? That's distracting you from the physical pain. So we kind of go into some of that work to say, okay, when don't you feel that?
Yeah, like you're really helping people to come to connect back with their bodies, which I love because one of the first signs of burnout that we kind of disregard and don't notice, but that is oftentimes rewarded is disconnecting from our bodies.
Right?
Right? We don't pay attention. It's like we just swing it. However, we don't really pay attention to it. We just move it through the day. We push through. We, go get coffee, go get a giant whatever, grande whatever, and get it going. We
Right.
don't really pay a lot of attention to our bodies. But you're saying your body is really the source. Your body has the answers.
Yeah.
If you
Even
listen to it, if you talk to it, if you ask it questions, right? If you're nice to it, it might tell you something you ain't know.
right, exactly. The recently my husband and I started, working out together, either going to the gym or walking. And there's been a couple mornings where, I may not have made it to the gym, like I'm just gonna go walk. And if I skip my somatic session in the morning, like my stride is shorter, like I have really good mobility, my hip starts hurting a lot faster. And he's like, what, this, if you walk more, if you walk faster, you'll be better. I'm like, no, I'm listening to my body and I actually need to like pull over in this grassy area and do some movement, some hip circles, rotation, the mobility, just to loosen up my body, and then it starts responding a lot better. You
I
know,
wonder how many injuries you've prevented just by virtue of listening to your body,
yeah,
giving it what it needs instead of forcing it to show up, forcing it to perform. Like I think about how much our relationship with our body is connected to capitalism's relationship with us.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely been times where, like you said, just pushing through, you're feeling the discomfort, right? But you're like, oh, I just got to keep going. You know, that I got
Mm,
this going on. You know, I have these things to do. I can't stop to worry about this.
yeah,
Sometimes you just need those few minutes to relieve that tension and pain, that discomfort, let it go so that you can make it further.
yeah. I want to ask, there's a question in the comments. Would you recommend that folks interested in somatics engage in other activities such as therapy alongside or before somatics?
I think it really depends on the person. Um,
Okay.
I did do therapy, but after, for me, well, I don't want to say after, but really after I started really digging in more with the somatics and as well as the hypnotherapy, then I started therapy because once I, again, depending on the concern, right? For me, therapy helped identify where some of my issues were, or like,
Yeah, the emotional root.
right? And if there was a person that I felt like was the problem, or was the problem me, right? And then being able to use the therapy to help have those conversations with others, or go back and use the somatics and hypnotherapy to do the work for myself.
Mm,
Um, and either way, both especially the hypnotherapy and the somatics, still doing the work for myself so that I can have more positive, productive relationships with others as well.
okay, love that. Love that. Well, listen, I don't want to keep you long, but I'm curious, what's next for you? You said the TEDx talk is coming out. Like, how can folks learn more about your work or connect with you deeper?
Yes. Gosh, lots going on. So the TEDx hopefully will be launching pretty soon. But like you mentioned, I do have the books. I have two books,
Yes.
Somatic Exercise Made Simple. You can find me. I have a website. I'm here on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much all the social media channels. Wherever you type in Dr. Danielle Griff, you'll find me.
I love
And
that.
I have a couple more podcast appearances coming up. As well as like a few conferences and speaking. So
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw you were at Melanated Minds.
yeah, Melanin Minds, such
Melanated.
a event here in Houston that happened this past weekend. So that
Awesome.
was really, really good. Being surrounded by other just like-minded people, people of color that were looking to heal or be in a space with other healers, or people making positive steps for their own mental health on that mental health business.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you for the work that you've been doing, and thank you for the resources that you are giving the people. Somatics is one of those things. It's so interesting. In Western culture, everybody focuses on the mind, and we kind of forget about the body. But it's like I remember a decade plus ago, a pastor saying, a head without a body is a monster, and a body without a head is a zombie. Like we need both, but not a whole lot of practitioners talk about both. And so, as more of us start seeking the gaps for what's been missing, right? People are doing yoga only and noticing something missing, or therapy only and noticing something missing, right?
Yeah.
This idea, this conversation about somatics and really connecting the mind and the body is, I think, going to get even bigger. And so I am so grateful, number one, right, to know that you are on the forefront, somebody who's been doing their own work, who has found some value in it for themselves.
Yeah.
But also, you know, that you've given us the resources, you've given us the tools so that we can kind of do it ourselves, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's definitely my goal. Like from day one, once I start writing the book, making it a resource, a tool, so
Yeah.
that people can use, actually an actual guide with, I have in both the books, I have videos and meditations. The resources are here, and if you feel like you need more, you can definitely reach out to me. Um, like I said, everybody's situation is a little bit different. Everyone's needs are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Um, but this is, a great place to start.
I love that. Well, thank you, Dr. Danielle. Can we give it up for Dr. Danielle, y'all? Ah,
Thank
I'm
you.
so I'm so excited and so glad that she came and joined us tonight. Listen, y'all, this was one of those conversations where I know somebody's body exhaled for the first time in weeks. Okay. So
Yeah,
many gems, so much wisdom. And what I love the most about it is that Dr. Danielle made it feel possible. She gave you some first steps,
yeah,
right? You don't have to continue doing things the way that you've been doing them, just simply because nobody has told you, right? We've
right.
told you now. So if you felt this tonight, please go follow Dr. Danielle. Tap in, buy her book, do the practices. These are the kinds of practices that really shift things at the root for us, right? Oftentimes we don't change, or we don't make sustainable change the way that we would like to, simply because we aren't approaching it from this perspective. This is not surface level wellness, right? So I'm so excited that you tuned in today. And listen, if you know that you've been running on fumes, right, feeling like you need a reset and your spirit needs some room to breathe, I'm inviting you to come to my Take Back Your Energy After Burnout workshop. It's happening at the end of the August. It's free, it's virtual, and we're going to dig into some of the reasons that you're tired, inflamed, and uninspired. And most importantly, we're going to start building you a more aligned life from the inside out. So super excited for that. But here's the thing, you don't have to figure this out alone, y'all. You have resources. You got Dr. Danielle's book, you've got her page, you got her Facebook group, and of course you have me. So thank you for rocking with us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Danielle. And if you're watching a replay, go ahead and drop a heart in the comments if you are reclaiming your rest and sealing your somatics this season. So I'll see y'all soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.